And this is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents, midweek podcast with my buddy Tru Armor as we chat and talk about the latest happenings going on in the world of, we haven't really talked any tech. We talk a little sports from time to time, the products that cross both of our paths. But we're going to talk a little bit about the politics, local and statewide, and we're going to talk about, of course, Oprah. We talked a little bit last week about Me Too, but I will start off by saying welcome once again to the pod, Sean.
Thank you.
We'll jump right into it. I guess we'll start off. Ways to follow the show. LateNightParents.com. You go to LateNightParents.com, or you can go to LNP.TV. Made a shorter way for the people that are lazy with the keystrokes. You can get to the website. You can get to the podcast. You can get to the latest blog posts, Twitter feed, and Facebook feed for those that care. I'll get started by saying this. A few weeks ago, we were talking about my guy, your guy, Tavis Smiley.
Right.
And we were going back and forth on, some of the things Tavis, when he went on his road tour, after he got let go, PBS stopped carrying his show. I won't say PBS let him go because he was never an employee. They were distributing his show, which is ingenious, which is totally ingenious. Exactly. I got to give it to him.
He's not an employee.
No.
Exactly.
He was distributing his show, which he distributed 3,000 episodes to PBS in a 14-year ratio. So a lot has to be said about that. So the question came out about, he was dating people that worked in his company. Which is questionable, but
right. But has
I
always
don't know.
Been.
It's always been.
It has always been questionable. Has always been. There was never a time when it was not questionable. And I remember, as a much younger man, when it was not my problem to deal with. Meaning, I must have been in maybe junior high school, on the low end of that. Women were saying that there was sort of a movement that you should be able to date at work. People meet at work. So there was some blowback about the constraints of what you could do at work, and I remember this from a while ago. So because I think back then, and mind you, it was a long time ago, I think some people were being fired for this, and it was like a workplace thing. They were maybe I like the girl and you like the girl, and then she went out with you. Then I had a problem with it, right? So it's that kind of weird kind of what do you do in the workplace? What is appropriate? A whole host of things was under that. How do you behave at work parties? Remember that there was a whole drama about what to do.
Yes, I remember that.
Someone had to come up with an etiquette for what to do at work parties because people would go to work parties and act like they were at college parties. Drink and sex everybody, and meanwhile you got to see these people the next day. So
I do want to jump in here. I do want to jump in really quick, and definitely give the mic back to you. I do want to say full disclosure. I did meet my wife at work. Full disclosure. I met.
There are no absolutes. You know what I'm saying? You can find love at work. But my point, and I think a lot of readdressing this Me Too thing that we spoke about last week, is what's the protocol? What do you want me to do so I do not get into trouble? Nobody wants to tell you that. They just want you to wander into this, shady, like wood, like this is some German fairy tale, and make out all right. If I ask you out at work and you say no, and you can then report me to HR, as is your right, should then the HR people go, that doesn't meet our standard. And if that's the standard, what is the standard at work? And I think once you do that, It's clear. But the way you get to do whatever you want in the workplace is to have these nebulous laws just in case the boss's kid steps in it. It can be explained away as something that it isn't. You know, there are no hard and fast rules for anything but black people in America. And that's just a hard fact of it. So,
no,
yeah,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Don't date at work because, you know, we've all had bad girlfriends, bad boyfriends. And do you want that to be a person at work? You know, people you don't want to call you anymore, they want to see, now you got to look at.
I don't even know.
Yeah.
I'm totally still stuck on this because when I came home last night and I went to my desktop. Of course, I pulled it up and it came across my feed that Tavis Smiley is, you know, okay, we understand he was let go and he went on his road tour and was bashing PBS and, you know, but he has a new engagement. And his show is going to be aired, you know, all over the place, which I think is a really great thing.
It sounds like a better deal because it's on the internet, which is wider than PBS. Right.
Yes, yes. And he's doing a road tour of men, women in the workplace and romance. And I'm just like, all right, I'm not even sure what's going on here because I guess he's still pushing back on, you know, I guess he was able to find employment so quick because I don't think he falls into this Me Too category.
I don't think so either. I think once I heard he had a new deal, I mean, mind you, the people who are paying him this money to sign these contracts to get into business with him, they have lawyers too. They have an HR department too.
Right.
Nobody is sitting here going, well, you know, Hollywood is done with Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey come over here and work in England or Australia or any of these places because they too know, well, the term damaged goods. Like, so, hey, but like, you know, you bring problems with you, and then our fan base will go, why did you do that? This seems to me like they know something. I was like, this has no leg to stand on. You know what I mean? So they're willing to get into business with him. So I think look, man, that Oprah Winfrey speech. So
we're gonna get to that.
I would put him totally outside of that Hollywood set of people.
I think I would. Because
I would put Matt Lauer outside of the Hollywood set of people too.
Really?
You know, because what Matt Lauer was doing sounds to me like it wasn't dating at work. It sounded like it was preying on women at work. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's Hollywood or anything, you know. And it sounds like what he was doing, maybe he shouldn't have done it, but dated someone at work, you know. And it's this idea that I said this last week. I view Hollywood as a totally different, like, society, right? So they have sort of like Williamsburg, where all the Hasidic Jews and women on the bus in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, have to ride the back of the bus, right? And that's in the middle of Brooklyn. That's in the heart of America. That's New York. So I can sit here and go, I don't understand that culture, but all right. So over here, I have this Hollywood system of people, you know, essentially selling their wares to get along. Men do it, women do it. You know, they may have, like, it's also a drug culture. All kind of weird stuff goes on in that town because they're super liberal, right? So outside of that, Tavis Smiley, a journalist working for PBS, you know, in New York, Matt Lauer, a journalist working for NBC Universal in New York, Comcast rather, in New York, you know, they don't exist in that bubble that Hollywood exists in. You know what I mean? They don't trade like love in circumstances like they do in Hollywood. There's with this Me Too movement, there are several women that no one's talking about who's known to play this game and to get these awards, to go to these shows, to get $20 million a year for a picture. And you'd have to say, you know, why wouldn't you for $20 million? But when you're found out about it, and you're exposed, and rightfully so, because it's an action that you did in this environment, you're exposing the men while you're not exposing the women, because it's not really about, bad practices. It seems to be about power, right? Just like this Matt Lauer thing, he was locking women in his office and playing these kind of like trap games, like it's a horror.
It's crazy.
You got to escape the basement or something. Meanwhile, Tavis Smiley's over here going, "Hey, you want to go out and have dinner maybe?" And maybe the girl likes him. But what some of these women are saying is, say I'm the lady, right? And you ask me out at work. And I go, yeah, but now it seems like the ladies expect the men to do all the processing of what happens in women's heads of, well, I said yes to go out with Ted, but I don't really want to, but here's the workplace, and I feel like I have. What if that never came into your head? What if you're just like, oh, she's pretty, and I know she likes basketball, and I like basketball, but maybe we can go hang out. And if she would have just said, I don't mess with dudes at work, you'd be like, all right, fine, and that's the end of it. Instead, right. I'm hearing stories about women who went on through it and then later on was like, I felt I had no. And then you're like, well, how did he ask you? What did he date? Did he, lock you in the room? Did he, press up against the wall and not let you escape? I mean, what happened? It turns out a lot of these are just guys going, hey, do you want to go out after work and have a couple of drinks? It's like some of these women have a case, and some of these women seem to me to be, what's the word? I don't want to mansplain or get in any trouble with your women listening.
Right.
But it seems to me that some of them are entirely too sensitive, I can say, or are just reading it, or are just gaming the system, because some women do that, right? Amongst the actual people who have actual problems with the environment, you always have these sort of opportunists,
I will.
All those things come into play. So
I will say this: for him to get a job, meaning for him to sign his next engagement directly after, less than a month,
2 weeks. Yeah, exactly.
2 weeks. He still has still has his own employees.
Exactly.
They're still on payroll, which is crazy to me. It was like, I can't even fathom. Is great, and I think maybe he was outside of that bubble. Yeah, I'm sure PBS is probably going to regret it, but his 5-city town hall style tour is going to be called The Conversation, Women, Men, and the Workplace, in which they'll discuss how to create a safe and healthy work environment. It's a touchy subject because, like I said, if you have two consensual adults.
It's the wording, too. It's a verbiage, a safe working environment. What does that even mean?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? The idea that it's not safe, gives leverage to this idea that there's something wrong with men. I would argue that the term a safe working environment is a problematic phrase because it instantly makes people guilty, you know what I mean, before they even walk into the room. Now, what's wrong with the environment between men and women in the workplace? That, to me, it seems a little less loaded than, the environment is sketchy, so keep your guard up. It's not that. It's in this modern world of shaking people for power, like making power moves, like you lost a senator, and that redraws your political landscape, whether you want to admit it or not. You should at least make sure that the people who you're accusing did what you said they did.
Yeah.
And look, and going back to this Oprah thing, I keep coming back to Oprah because her speech is that.
Hold on. Let me wrap up with this. So the one good thing is he gets
continue with his good name.
Continue with his good name.
Right.
Of course you got to repair your reputation regardless.
Right.
But the 3,000 episodes that aired on PBS since his company, his multimedia company, his publication, he owns the publishing, he owns the masters. He gets to re-air those episodes in his new engagement, along with
being. One thing I do know is content is king. And
3,000
shows, people want that.
3,000.
You know,
So 3,000. Just think
each one
of
an hour
3,000
long.
shows.
What
Yes.
time is that? Yeah.
Yeah. 3,000 shows, and where you could just let me carve out the best of this episode, repackage it.
15-minute Tavis Smiley.
Right.
On I don't see why.
So I think it's good.
Signed him if he had an issue. So something tells me, like you said, this doesn't seem like he can be put in the same category with all these other guys.
No. But I think so. This is Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. But next topic you brought up, which was, it's one word, Oprah.
Oprah.
Great speech.
Yeah, fantastic speech. I was. If I was gullible, I'm like, there's a troubling word, right? If I was, I don't want to use gullible. That's the wrong word. If I was needing to hear something, that's what I needed to hear. You know what I mean?
Yes.
She told
you felt
people
good
in that room exactly. It's very much like, I forgot his name, who gave the BET speech. Remember that BET speech? It's the same speech.
Yes,
like,
it's the same speech.
The idea that you gave this great speech to a room of rich people that's going to do nothing with it.
That's going to do nothing with it. That's that feel good.
A room full of white millionaires in Hollywood,
Yes.
California. What are they going to do? A civil rights speech. It was beautiful. And then they cut to the standing ovation. It's all white people. I was just kind of like, my God, people, seriously, Oprah? But it was beautiful. She made really good points, and she tried not to demonize the men, But
the entire night, the entire evening, the men were being
the men from the rafters. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
And these were the men that, to this current time, hadn't done anything that was inappropriate. These were, the Tom Hanks and the Steven Spielbergs. These were the people that, can keep their yammies in their pants and not expose themselves.
But I keep telling people, look, man, Jack Nicholson is a famous Hollywood Lothario. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And people love that. A ton of girlfriends all over the place. Now all of a sudden they're saying that this sexual environment is, I don't know. The whole thing just seems odd to me. I think women in the workplace, corporate America, every place needs an HR department, needs to keep their nose to the grindstone, need to be aware of the sexual politics wherever they work. But to have Hollywood lead the way, it's just sort of is ridiculous to me. That speech, it made no sense to me. I mean,
I
they
just
don't have the problem.
It was a feel good speech. You're gonna leave out of here. The camera is going to be panning on people that are crying and standing there, and just like yes.
Looking ecstatic. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then what happens? Nothing gets done. And then the only time they bring speeches like that out is after shootings, to calm people down.
Yes.
Hey, we know what's going on. So it's sort of like, we're not blind to it. We see it too. And one day, it's the very much we shall overcome kind of still in these speeches. I was telling my nephew, I know enough Black history. I'm done with talking about yesterday. I know about slavery, and I know about Medgar Evers. I'm done. What are we doing tomorrow? Because this is what we had better be building for, because I was taught yesterday, like my father was taught yesterday, like his father was taught yesterday. Who's teaching us tomorrow? You know what I mean? Colin Kaepernick.
You're right.
Colin Kaepernick represents tomorrow, and he's on the sideline. They treated Colin Kaepernick like they treated Ray Rice. And you'd think, that one of them shouldn't be banned.
You're right.
You think that. But they both have to go to court. It makes me just kind of scratch my head. So I see that speech, and I go, woo, and I listened to it twice. I was like, because I didn't watch it. I don't, a room full of millionaires giving each other awards is like ridiculous to me. And then I heard all this press about it, and I was like, all right, let me go check this speech out. And I watched it, and I was like, wow, that is Obama level, Dr. King level.
It is.
Black.
You felt that you had that feeling.
Yeah.
You remember when Obama spoke in 2004, when he gave that first initial speech. Yes. In 2004,
in Chicago in that coat.
Right.
Yeah.
In 2004 and 2008, you had, maybe 30 or 40 Obama speeches, and you felt good, and
yes,
you felt like
you knew it wasn't a fluke. You were like, wow.
Right.
Exactly.
And even in 2012, you were just like, like you said, unfortunately, it was during or after there's like, one of those hideous shootings or stabbings or something, some type of violence happens, and he would come out and speak to American people.
And do what I used to call his best Dr. King, where Dr. King had a way of speaking to you where he didn't make middle-of-the-road white people feel bad about being white people or being afraid of black people. Like, the Panthers did. They were like, we're going to carry guns and we're going to get busy up in here. And, like, somebody in Minnesota or Wisconsin be like, oh, my goodness, what are they doing over there in New York? And, it's that. So now those people can get on board. Those people who voted for Obama, they can get on board with what Oprah is saying. But the problem here is I keep hearing the same speech. With the same tone
I'm going to jump in here.
Get better. Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to jump in here because I remember hearing a speech of Louis Farrakhan at the Million Man March, and everyone was all pumped up, And then you want to know where's the follow through? What's next?
The speeches are nice. Exactly. But what? Yeah, exactly. It's tomorrow. What is tomorrow?
Next? Yes.
Exactly. Tomorrow is what's on the look. There's this group of. Let's talk about immigration for just like a minute and a half, right? So you have all these Mexicans who came here for essentially birth tourism to have kids in America. The liberal Democrats and Democratic Party control the conversation, right? So you can't say that there was birth tourism with Mexicans, right? Mm-hmm. Even though they came here so they could have a better life and have their kids born in America, just like all these Europeans. But those people, they weren't tourists. They decided to come and stay, right? Now you have these Russian women staying in Trump hotels. Did you see this story this week? These Russian women staying in Trump hotels, all in Florida, to have their babies be American. And this is your problem, right? Now, I was like, and then they got pictures of them all standing there with their, like, 7-8 months pregnant, smiling on the beach and, like, talking about, is this our right to come here and live like this? I don't know what your problem is. I'm sitting here going, you're telling me that we have Russians in our government fiddling with our, why don't you shut the door on this? I don't see how you can solve anything if you don't attack the whole problem. And I think a lot of what we hear is the problem. We're not getting the honest facts. And that goes back to that Oprah speech. It was a really beautiful speech. It painted, this thing sort of like it can be done and we can do it, girlfriend. Come on, let's go. And I get that feeling from the civil rights movement of, come on, black people, we can do it. We just need to vote for Hillary. Yeah. Or, come on, Obama will do it for you. Yeah. But I never actually see them going, we're going to come to your community and fix what you think is the problem. I mean, this is the problem. The speeches are the problem at this point. And would Oprah get a nice showing? Yeah. Women love Oprah. But Oprah has a blind spot that nobody wants to talk about. Oprah doesn't get nearly as much love from black men, right?
Well,
there's some issues with her and black people that there's a bunch of things. There's a bunch of things, but I think from that speech, but since they're not the problem of white rich people, they don't register on a detraction meter. Just like Hillary, Hillary was the choice of all these affluent people, upper middle class, white people, college people, but she had a giant blind side that I put all over my Facebook page leading up to this thing for 2 years while I was being called misandrous You know, it was that you're not looking at the people who don't like her in this party because she does nothing for them. And their whole point was get on board and vote for Hillary. And I was like, I don't know if you're going to be able to pull that lift. And she didn't pull that lift because she didn't take into account this group in her own party who were incredibly unhappy. Oprah Winfrey has the same issue. I don't think she will run, but if she runs, she's got huge negatives in like the mid category.
But I think the misinformed, from that speech, the misinformed, which is, you know, Hollywood, which is, you know, liberal media, you know, the resistance, the Never Trump people, you know, the all the above have this false sense of security. You know, and all these people that say, oh, well, I didn't feel comfortable with voting for Hillary Clinton, but, you know, will that translate into a vote for Oprah? You know, it's a lot. I mean, because there's a lot of things here that's a problem. One, okay, we can throw out she doesn't have any experience. We know that's out the window, and the bar has been lowered because you can just do whatever if you're a celebrity. But I don't think she needs an agenda. I don't think she needs one.
I would disagree with one thing that you said. The idea that the bar is lowered, I disagree with that. I think that these people who've been running family politics, like, you know, the Cuomos and the Kennedys, and obviously like the Clintons want to have convinced everybody that the only people who can run this country went to one of 7 schools, right? The 7 sisters, what are they? Dartmouth, Princeton, Yale, Harvard, Brown, Columbia, I forget the other one. But it's this idea that if you didn't go to one of those schools in the north, or one of the, I think there's like 6 of them in the south, or Stanford in the west, then you can't be president. Who would trust you? And my position is common sense is common sense. If you are a butcher, a baker, you know, why not? And I think if more people thought like that, you'd have Congress is full of lawyers. And one thing about the law is a foreign language, and it's how they take everything from you. It's how they kept black people enslaved. It's how they kept the vote from women. It's how they just can bomb and take funds from anybody they see fit because they write that it's not illegal, right? I was telling people every time I have their conversation about slavery, there was nothing illegal about slavery because they crossed their T's and dotted their I's, right? And the only time slavery became illegal was when the South was in full rebellion of the North. But up until then, all that rape and murder and killing was not illegal, you know, or not severely illegal. You may have to pay somebody a fine if you beat their slave to death, you know, but it's this. So all these people are in Congress writing these laws that are shady as heck. And like 2 of the famous ones is the Patriot Act was passed at 4 a.m, right? It's this thing. No one read it. And then just recently, they just passed this tax bill the same way, 2 a.m.
Oh, my goodness, started.
Meanwhile, you and I are sitting here going, how am I going to, you know, prepare for retirement? How am I going to take care of my ailing parent? How am I going to make sure that my kids get a college education? All of that is a crap ton of bucks that these people aren't helping you get. Meanwhile, all they ever seem to do is write a check to a foreign government. You know, for whatever reason, they wrote that check to that foreign government. But you got buildings collapsing here. We just had a water main break go here, right? So it's everywhere you look in Congress, there's lawyers. And I think that the lawyers who are there look more to how the system, knowing how the system works so they can get ahead versus making sure the system works for everybody. You know what I mean? So back to what started this, the idea that, you know, if my dad worked for the MTA and he was a mechanic, right? My dad shouldn't be president because I've never heard him really talk politics in his life, right? But nothing wrong with that, right? Now, I am perpetually talking politics to all sorts of crazy people. And I've met people who had real good insight, who weren't college people, who weren't lawyers, who were just kind of like that dude that you meet at a bar, you know, and you're like, you should run for something, congressman, you know, and people, oh, no. But it's because they're real people. I'm pretty sure this Me Too movement, you know, you'll have to defend yourself because someone will go, oh, this is a good way to get this seat, you know, and who wouldn't believe him? He was a bartender or he was a UPS worker or whatever. So all these regular jobs, they somehow have convinced all of us that if you do that job, you can't be the president. And the only people who can be president are, you know, these connected people or the anointed, like all these new Democrats that are trying to I guess, hatch early, you know, Cory Booker's and the Kamala Harris's, because people are tired of 70-year-old politicians, even in the Democratic Party, and they don't have anybody to look for in just 3 short years. So you bring up Oprah, which is the same thing as Donald Trump a year and a half ago.
Of course,
you know what I mean?
Of course.
At least
because
Obama was
there's nothing or there's no one new on the bench.
Exactly.
The bench is clear. The bench is clear. I was gonna say this. You brought up a couple of good things. You know, I really do. Okay, there's a few things I agree with Donald Trump on.
Yeah,
there's a few things. There's a few things.
Right.
There's a few things, but you do have to invest in your infrastructure.
Yeah.
You do. The roads, things are just falling apart. This is stuff. Where you find this money, I don't know. Okay? I don't know. I mean, is the answer defunding?
It's not in tax cuts.
Right. It's not in tax cuts. I mean, you have to.
But here's the spooky thing. Every time they give money away like this, we go bomb some people.
Right.
So expect, you know, to ratchet up this war in like the spring and summer.
I'm doing a recording with Christopher Whalen. He's a CPA in New Jersey tomorrow.
That guy. Oh yeah.
And I reached out to him. Because we usually do a show, maybe a show or two a year. And I said to him, I said, how to dissect Trump's new tax bill. I said, it's tax reform. I said, the pod we're doing tomorrow is, how is this bill going to impact some of the following groups? Senior citizens, millennials, homeowners, college students. We've overheard about businesses and corporations, but how does it affect the trade deficit? How does it affect nonprofit executives? So we're going to touch base on that tomorrow, and the podcast will be available towards the end of the week or on the weekend. We're going to just drop it. But I got to tell you, Sean, it's to a point where she doesn't need an agenda. There's no bench. There's the only thing they're hoping is, okay, let's give the Democratic people and independent people their version of, and not calling her Donald Trump, but, let's give them the celebrity with the 40 million Twitter followers and Instagram followers. And the one thing I can see her doing differently is she knows how to motivate people. And the key to winning, I believe, and I could be wrong because it wouldn't be the first time, is you got to motivate people to get out their homes. You got to motivate the people to volunteer their time.
Yeah.
You got to motivate people to go out there, exercise their right, and vote, and feel good about it.
Yeah.
That's where she gives the hope. That's where she could say, a new day is on the horizon.
Yeah, but I mean, I think she can say that.
Yeah,
I don't know
but what else is behind it?
Well, I mean, Obama motivated me to vote for him. You feel me? I was motivated. I could not look forward to it, and I was looking at that election like it was a sporting event. I was like, whoo! Or even after I vote, I was like, what inning is this? What's the score? I was like, who's coming out? What does it look like? In Ohio, and Pennsylvania, and Cleveland, where they weren't going to vote for him. Oh, wow, he took Ohio. Wow, that's incredible. And I knew he had Chicago. So what about? I knew he had Los Angeles, California, and Oregon, the standard liberal places. But I just wanted to know what the middle of the country was going to think about this black president. And you know what? I was pleasantly surprised. I was super motivated. And the opposite when Hillary ran. I was just kind of like not motivated at all. And furthermore, I was angry about it. I was motivated to show her that I was not gullible. You can't call me an apt predator. You know, you have zero respect for the working man, whether they're black people, apt predators, or poor white people. What did you call them? A basket of deplorables? You know,
she called us
so you got the basket of deplorables and the predators voting against you. You know, when you could have just been like, of all the people who didn't vote for her, if she didn't insult people, I'm pretty sure she probably would have got easily 500,000 more votes. But the idea that you insult me, you insult my children, my friends, and my family, I'm not voting for you. And I think she lost a lot of women with that, and she was already having issues with men.
I couldn't believe
the amount. And she came across like the wife in what is that, in Django Unchained. She comes across like the wife in Django Unchained, where at the end of the movie, everybody is shocked when she's shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just kind of like, why are you shocked? She's a slave mistress. You know, it's just kind of like no one expected bad things. And it's that. It's like...
I couldn't believe the amount of women that did not vote for her. That's what was the most shocking to me, because I thought it was in the bag. And I said, she's got the women. I said the women are going to vote for her, and that's that. And you look at it, and you're like, oh, my goodness. But, hey, I want to look at really quickly, this is Late Night Parents, ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com, where you can find the weekly podcast. I said to you yesterday in a text message in a chat room, we said, who's on the bench? I said Kristen Gillibrand, Kamala Harris, Andrew Cuomo, Cory Booker. And I classified them as lightweights. And I said the person who had a chance was Al Franken before he got called out for being, what do we call him? Do we call him, I mean, was he just being gross, or was he just trying to be funny?
I think he was being funny like a frat boy, you know, like that sophomore humor you get from Animal House, kind of ridiculous.
Right.
But versus, I mean, he wasn't showing any nudity. He wasn't sleeping with these women. He was just kind of being an immature knucklehead. You know what I mean? That kind of
thing.
And that goes back to like what is what's the standard here? That goes back to that whole thing. So, but yeah, I mean, none of those people hold a candle to Al Franken. And Al Franken wasn't a lion of the Senate, but at least he was putting in the work. He was learning everything, and I was surprised by it. He did Paul Wellstone a huge kind of like I'm about to say service. Paul Wellstone was not the original, but just a lion of a senator from Franken's home state of Minnesota who died in a plane crash, who's just a legendary figure in Minnesota. But and if you look up that dude, you'll be like, wow, he died in a plane crash. He was like madly beloved too. So whenever somebody runs for a seat in that time, the Democrats always kind of like he's the benchmark. And Al Franken, you know, he was very much sort of like that. He was very. I mean, Wellstone was a college professor who kind of. Yeah, you should look up Paul Wellstone. But I think that he was. Remember what they said about Hillary Clinton when she became a senator? They were like, well, you should learn the job before you come down here telling us what to do and writing bills. Remember that? Right. He was doing that essentially. You know, I mean, and he took you on when he needed to. But also when Obama became a senator, he also did the same thing. He sort of kind of like, you know, learned how the line works.
He jumped the line.
Well, this is what Kristen Gillibrand is about, right? Kristen Gillibrand was
jumping the line.
A senator, a state senator, who had not enough recognition to run for anything, right? Other than she ran for state, not going to take any. People don't sign up to run for state senator, so you know you give her that. but she became a senator because the outgoing governor, who became governor because the previous governor had to quit from prostitution charges, so he becomes governor, and then the governor, who was it that left, so he gave Gillibrand the Senate seat?
Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, right. It was Hillary Clinton left, and he gives Gillibrand the seat, and because of gerrymandering, Gillibrand is going to be there for as long as he wants.
Yeah,
and
totally.
She is a friggin', I just don't believe that she's worthy. I'll just say that. I don't believe that she's...
Gerrymandering takes place on both sides. I will say this.
Yeah, exactly. Gerrymandering is the problem. I don't like it for Democrats, and I don't like it for Republicans. The idea is if the American people, back to my idea of like having bakers and butchers and moms in your Senate, right, in your House, your Congress, your governing body, upper and lower houses, it's more telling of what the people want. The government policy that we have here is put in place by corporate America, and they're bought off, politicians. So now we're perpetually at war. We still have a race issue. Women can't vote. You leave it to your sons. George Bush was president of the United States, and there's all sorts of questions about his history, right? I mean, they can't find his war records, for God's sake. Who gets their war records lost? But, his dad was head of the CIA and president. Oops, oh well. You know what I mean? It's silly in the way that our government runs, and everybody thinks that it's an honest representation of the country. It isn't. Like we just said, people are coming here to have their babies. That's not an honest representation. That right there is the way that you get a mole in your government. I was born in Florida at a Trump hotel, and then 30 years later, you found out this senator guy is a Russian mole, and you can trace it back to behavior like this.
I will say this.
What is it? Not Stand By Me. No Way Out with Kevin Costner, where he was a Russian agent, and he was. It's people act like these scenarios don't happen in the real world. It's a guy who's a Russian agent who has a career in your American military. That's not Star Wars. That's not Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? That can happen.
God.
So I think
between. Well, I won't even name the retreads because we've heard those names way too many times. But I think a consensus of us admitted, I admitted Senator Sherrod Brown from Ohio because he comes from a swing state. But, a lot of people think this is being set up, put on the platter for Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts. I just don't see Oprah running. I really don't see her running because I see her, and I've said this before a couple of times, I see her becoming the Carolina Panthers majority owner.
Yeah.
Becoming the Carolina Panthers majority owner to say, okay, you know what? You not only have a woman here in this boys group, but you have an African-American woman. You guys are going to respect me, and we're going to really respect this game.
Yeah.
I can see her
I can see both of those things happening. I can see both of those things. I can see I can see one of those things happen. I can see her running and her owning the Panthers. But I look, mind you, the mindset of these rich people, they have been, to quote Charlie Sheen, winning for so long. It's someone who does nothing but, mind you, they have all these acolytes around them just perpetually assigned to blow smoke up their skirt. Oh, you're the best. Oh, you didn't get that nomination? I can't believe that guy did. You are absolutely, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So when somebody goes, oh, you can absolutely win, Oprah, everybody loves you. She may be going, yeah, maybe I should. This is an opportunity I can't, and then maybe it'll become worth taking a run at it, no matter what people say. Look at Donald Trump. People are like, Donald Trump will never be president. And through all of it, he was just, it was an action movie. He was straight clubbing people. And people were just, and then it got closer and closer and closer to when this thing was going to be called. and they could not believe he was still in it. And then it came down to he's got tiny hands, so he must have a tiny penis. What, really? Really? I'll say one thing. He took on all comers without knowing the rules and shamelessly. He was very New York about it. And all these like prim and proper, like this is how you run for office because we learned it this way, got posted. And now everybody realizes that their way is not the right way, and now everybody wants a shot at it because
everyone was running the textbook way. This is the textbook way, and he just said, you know what? We're going to rip this textbook up.
Exactly, and now everybody's looking to do it like he did it. And I think whoever runs, they're going to be like, the problem is Congress, right? Congress actually becomes what you're running against because you're brand new, you're an outsider.
You are, and they can sit there. And I mean, you have the executive privilege. You can write executive orders, but I'm telling you, it's Congress. I feel so strong about
the problem
the local.
Is always Congress.
I agree.
They stood in the way of Obama for 8 years.
Yeah, of course. Yes. I said I just focus. This is me myself. I just focus on local politics, the local councilman, the local legislator. Because you know what? At the end of the day, you can reach out to them, you can email to them, you can call them, you can speak with them,
and you can stop them from rising any higher up the ranks if they're crappy lower politicians. People don't get that.
Right.
You know? And like one thing, I would hope your listeners, like your black listeners especially, pay attention to is up until Hillary Clinton, I never missed an election, right? Up until that point, I'd never missed an election. I'm going to be 50 in a couple of weeks. And when that whole thing went as south as it did, my whole position became,
it's rigged.
Is it really worth it? Who am I voting for? Who are these people? And even as I kind of stopped voting and I never missed an election, up until then, there was one group of people that I never voted for on the ballot, and those were judges, because judges have a ridiculous amount of power, and they generally are not fond of us. So why am I, you know what I mean? I'm always trying to find out about these judges, where they stand, and I can't. So I leave it blank. So you're absolutely right. Local politics is life. It affects you just as much as the presidential election affects you, but this affects you. I can't say that it doesn't affect you on a daily. It does affect you on a daily, but this is like you said. This is something that you can activate. This is the difference between me buying a lottery ticket to talk to the president and you actually going down to a town hall meeting and getting actual access to your person. So you should definitely do that. But please also look into these judges, because they keep these corrupt cops killing people and walking around. They let these realtors gentrify neighborhoods and throw you out. All these things that you hate are always codified and co-signed by judges, who then go on to be your ombudsman on the neighborhood level. So you can go, oh, he was a lawyer and he did good. We should have him as our ombudsman. Or you get to go, he was a lawyer or a judge and he was a hot mess in the neighborhood. We should let this information out. And in this way, I believe we may, save this great nation, because it can't continue as it does, being controlled by the oligarchs. It can't.
No, it can't. I mean, I fully agree with you on that. Hey, we're going to get ready to wrap up. I will say this much. It's politics, and it's, even though it's 10 months away, 11 months away, it's in everyone's. I don't know. It's in everyone's thought process, because you're sitting here and you're thinking, you're like, hey, you know what? There's going to be so much involvement from the regular working Joe in this midterm.
Now. And the difference here is we used to feel good about taking these politicians' word for it, and now we're like, your word is garbage. So every average citizen wants to run. I think that's a good thing. They're telling you women. Women are just as evil as men can be. There's women who kill their husbands and their kids. Don't buy into this just because it's a lady means the place will get better. You'll still have wars and all this ridiculousness. So maybe the situation to make it better is one of your listeners needs to run for their ombudsman. I'm not ombudsman. Their state senator, their state official. Dog catcher, sheriff. And let me tell you this. I know some of you have lives. You're not, you don't have fathers who were head of the CIA who can erase stuff for you. Some of you have said some things on social media. Some of you have done some, sexual stuff and put it online that you did when you were young people and you regret now. That don't matter anymore. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. As long as you didn't do this thing with your brother's wife, which is an immoral thing that people have a problem with, versus you just being sexual, or any of these children things, like the Kevin Spacey thing, again, an immoral thing versus people being sexual. But if you've had some honest sex with somebody and they, destroyed your trust by putting it online, or you did it yourself, people will forgive that. In this environment, people will forgive that. So just investigate it, just investigate it. None of these things will disqualify you. I mean,
no, not at all.
I think people want a good heart, and common sense. So, I mean, even if even after listening to Ted's show, you go and just do a 20-minute search about the policy, you've done yourself solid. You know what I mean?
Oh, you have to. You have to. Exactly. Like I said, tomorrow going to we're doing the tax reform because, like I said, I had so many questions because, for one, I'm sitting here saying, okay, I'm living somewhere. I'm living on Long Island. Taxes about $15,000, and you're telling me I'm capped out for everything at $10,000. Well, what does that mean? So that was the real reason. One of the reasons why I said, let me go get an expert, talk to him, and throw out some of these questions that might be helpful to someone.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff seems to me to be renamed policies that we got rid of, right?
Yes.
So this is, no matter how hard you work in America, you never own anything.
No, never.
It can easily, look, I was telling somebody, you never own your house, so you'll pay it off, right? The mortgage, I own this house. Not really, because now you have to pay taxes on it perpetually, and da-da-da-da. So there's always some hidden person bleeding coin out of you, and it's a problem. Like the last honest group of billionaires, I think I would wager, are the tech guys, and they're looking sinister. The tech guys didn't get their money by conning anybody. They just had a better idea that they could sell to more people. Right? So, but now they have $100 billion, and what are they doing? What's the guy from Facebook? He was
Mark Zuckerberg.
Zuckerberg was up some weird real estate stuff in Hawaii. And
right.
People there were like, this is our family land. So just because they're rich and they're famous doesn't mean you should trust them, because you will be out on the street.
There's a reason.
Don't answer them. Yeah,
there's a reason why Apple was bringing back from Ireland $200 billion. It's funny that they're bringing it back now after this law has gone into place. I mean, it's not really funny because you can see, you can connect the dots easily.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I tell you this, it was great.
You see a gas can and some matches on the lawn. You're not going to associate him with a burning building. Yeah, exactly. It's like
Sean, it was, as always, is great talking with you. Definitely going to do this more often on some of these different types of topics. Podcasts will be available shortly, and I want to say thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, my friend. I'll talk with you soon.
Absolutely. Have a good one, man.
You too.